Bold Idea Symposium. My name is Karen Tomjanovich, and I am the Director of Programs and Strategies at Princeton Alumni Corps. Alumni Corps is an almost 30-year-old organization that was founded in 1989 by the Princeton class of 1955. Our mission is to mobilize people, organizations, and networks for the public good. And to do that, we run 4 programs, one of which is the Bold Idea, and the other is the Project 55 Fellowship Program, that places soon-to-be graduated and recently graduated Princeton seniors in one-year paid fellowship positions in nonprofits across the country, the Emerging Leaders Program, which offers professional and leadership development for mid-career nonprofit professionals, and our ARC Innovators Program, which places seasoned individuals, experienced individuals in short-term pro bono projects. The Bold Idea is a partnership between us and Appleseed that you'll hear about in just a few minutes. And today is really the culmination of a 2-year project that has been supported by the Hewlett Foundation, and we're extremely grateful for their support. It in part comes out of our strategic plan. We wanted to figure out how to leverage the power and strength of our over 2,000 program alumni, our many hundreds of organizations we've worked with over the years, to have some discernible impact on the public good. We received the Hewlett money, and we were happy to work with Appleseed on immigration and figuring out how to make that work. We really started from ground zero and had to figure out both what our individual networks looked like and how we could bring those networks together. As you all know, it's a very complicated subject, and we had to figure out what our niche was. We did that through many phone calls, face-to-face meetings, 3 different smaller convenings that help us set our direction, and several webinars that focus on mental health and trauma in immigrant and refugee populations. So we hope that during the day you not only learn from our amazing content, we have incredible speakers and roundtables prepared for you, but that you also use this as an opportunity to connect with each of our organizations and build your own network via all of the people and partners in the room. And I will let the rest of the Bold Idea team introduce themselves.
Thank you, Karen, and good morning, everyone. My name is Elisa Ortiz, and I'm the Director of Network Collaboration at Appleseed. Appleseed is a network of 17 social and legal justice centers located across the country and in Mexico. We've worked for the last 25 years, our 25th anniversary year, to mobilize pro bono support to hit toward systemic change and reform, and immigration is one of the issues that we've worked on almost since our inception. And so we're really excited to be working with Alumni Corps. We actually have shared DNA with them. Ralph Nader is one of our co-founders of both of our organizations, which we didn't know until this whole thing got started. So it's been a great way to connect with kind of a sister organization and develop an excellent relationship. So I am going to just give you a brief overview of our agenda today. You do have a program booklet, hopefully in front of you, but give you that and then introduce our opening speakers, and then we'll transition into the program. So our morning is going to kick off with a couple of welcome speakers to welcome you to this particular location, both New York and this building. And then we will transition to our opening keynote panel. After our keynote panel, we will head to lunch on either side of this room, and you'll grab your lunch, and then you'll go to your first set of afternoon roundtables, which will take place in this room, the Nelson Mandela room, and then in the Berta Caceres room, which is down the hallway that way. And so we'll explain to you in more detail what you have a little colored sticker on your name tag, and that is indicative of where you're to go for the roundtable that you chose. Then we'll have a break. Then we'll have another set of roundtables, same rooms, and again, different speakers, different topics. And then finally, we will convene in this room again at the end of the day for our wrap-up session. So thank you all again, and good morning. So I'm going to introduce our welcome speakers. I have the privilege and honor. So we were blessed enough to have access to the Ford Foundation for Social Justice building, and as you can see, it's a beautiful space. If you haven't already, go to in the hallway and look down at the garden. It's just gorgeous. I love sort of the 1,000-foot view here, and so one of the folks we want to thank for that is Mayra Peters-Quintero from the Ford Foundation. She is the Senior Program Officer for Gender, Racial, and Ethnic Justice here, and has worked on migrant and immigrant rights for many years in different capacities. She joined the Ford Foundation in 2008, and over the course of her career, she's worked on immigrant rights issues in the public, academic, and nonprofit sectors. As the director of the Bureau of Immigrant Workers' Rights at the New York State Department of Labor, she led a statewide initiative to protect and advance the rights of immigrants in New York and develop and reform government agency policies affecting immigrants. Prior to that, she taught at New York University School of Law, co-directing its Immigrant Rights Clinic. Her work there focused on low-wage and immigrant worker representation and providing legal aid to community-based organizations. She also developed the first immigrant rights project at Latino Justice, DEF, a national civil rights organization, where she served as a Skadden Fellow and Associate Counsel. And earlier than that, she completed a U.S. District Court clerkship with Judge Sterling Johnson Jr. of the Eastern Division of New York, and she'll come up in just a moment. Our other welcome speaker is Bitta Mostofi, Commissioner of the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs here in New York City. Under her leadership, the office has created programs and policies to advance the integration of immigrant New Yorkers into the city's civic, economic, and cultural life. Bitta spearheaded the ID NYC outreach campaign, connecting over 1.2 million New Yorkers, regardless of immigration status, to government-issued identification, which increased access to services and created a greater sense of belonging to the city. Other groundbreaking achievements include helping to design the Action NYC Legal Services Program, bringing immigration legal services and education to communities through partnerships in schools, hospitals, and community-based organizations. In this time of intense anti-immigrant rhetoric and policy at the federal level, Bitta has led New York City's efforts to ensure immigrant families have access to the services and resources they need while fighting back against policies that negatively impact New Yorkers. And so we're so pleased to have her here. So Mayra, we'll welcome you up first.
Thank you, everyone. I think the introduction will be longer than my remarks. So, good morning. I'm here just to welcome you. We are so glad to have you in our building. I thought I don't have as much to say as you do on immigration and networks, but I can give you a couple reflections as a funder on the topic of today's symposium, which I'm thrilled that you guys have taken up. You know, as funders, we sit in this extremely privileged position, not only because of the gorgeous building. Be sure you see the Nelson Mandela's work that he created while he was incarcerated. And, you know, we give away money. It's a fantastic job. But I think kind of the best thing is the perch we sit on. Like, we really get to see a huge range of work, the best work, tactics, strategies, and what's sort of emerging as the most effective ways to create change. And certainly networks constantly come up for funders as ways to really increase impact, increase efficiencies. It's rare and exciting, actually too rare and exciting to see a partnership like the Bold Ideas ones. The Princeton Alumni Corps and Appleseed are not the usual partners that we would see networked, and we love to see that and figure out how they can leverage each other's strengths. But often we're just nurturing networks that have your traditional headquarters with affiliates or chapters or tentacles. And there were two things that I thought about in coming in here today as a funder. One is that it takes a very particular skill set and amount of bandwidth to really fund networks well. And so I'm offering an apology for the funders who have done this clumsily or haven't had the bandwidth to really nurture it, but also inviting you, to the extent that you're supported by private foundations and have relationships with your program officers, to discuss these issues. Like, it is not, the huge bulk of our funding is a traditional relationship from a private foundation to a 501c3 nonprofit. Funding a network involves thinking about how to nurture and support a totally different animal, asking different questions, understanding, is all the money concentrated in the headquarters? What's the regranting relationship is the obvious question, but there are a million others to really help you all grow your networks, both within your institutions and across networks. And so I want to invite that conversation and just give you a glimpse that it's something we struggle with, but it's something that we constantly raise. We love networks. We want to promote them. We want to network you guys all the time. We want to hear about network creation, but we don't always know the nature and the flavor of what the work looks like inside of a network. So please engage in that way. And then the other thing is that as a funder, I didn't know this before I took this job, but like a huge amount of my work is networking foundations within philanthropy and getting work done collectively. And I would say it's not like my favorite part of the work. Your work is so much more exciting. You're on the innovation edge. You're doing all these exciting things. I can't say that like circulating within philanthropy was my dream job, but certainly that has been an essential component to actually achieving change through funding. So Laura and I are in regular contact. figuring out how do we work in step so that our funding is aligned, because our most important task, of course, is to spend every dollar really, really well for the pressing issues we're trying to tackle with limited resources. And so that's another place where I feel if you're engaged with the foundation, really understanding the network of foundations, that every funder operates a little bit in an ecosystem of other funders, yet we relate to you in a very unilateral way. And so I was reflecting on how we expect you all to be networked and connected, yet we work with you in a very siloed fashion. And so this would be this meeting today gave me a great opening to reflect on how we need to do better in sharing what our networks look like and plugging you in, and so that we network, multilaterally with you all in that way. So I don't want to take more of time. You have a fantastic agenda ahead of you. I welcome you to Ford. We are so honored to have you here. We're so thrilled that the Bold Ideas chose to focus on immigration. It's a core commitment for Ford for decades to work on immigrant rights. And so we couldn't be more pleased with the level of work and the quality of relationships that are emerging here. So thank you and enjoy your day.
Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Good. Okay, good. That's pretty good. Good. Some caffeine is flowing. On behalf of Mayor de Blasio, welcome to New York City. You really couldn't have chosen a more appropriate setting to have this conversation. We define ourselves as the ultimate city of immigrants. Nearly 40% of our 8.6 million population is foreign-born. When you add in their children, that takes you to 60% of our population. Which is a remarkable thing. It is truly a remarkable thing. Our residents speak over 200 languages. They have come here from all parts of the globe. They have established their lives, their homes. They are contributing incredibly to our economies. Nearly 50% of our small business owners are immigrants. Immigrants work across almost every sector in our city: construction, education, health, entertainment, technology, you name it. And we are only as good as we can be as a city because of our immigrant residents. And so this is such an important conversation to be had. And I'm so grateful, and ought to begin by really thanking Appleseed and the Alumni Corps and the Ford Foundation for holding this important symposium, and for really setting out an agenda that seeks to bring to the table the really important question of what are our bold ideas. Because in this moment and in this climate, we see ourselves cyclically in the press, in political discourse, in individual discourse, almost on a hamster wheel, where we are having the same conversation over and over. We're seeing the repetition of a debate that has happened for decades, and an inability to move past some of these critical pieces. And the only way that we're going to do that is through partnership, through collective action, through bridging our own work together, and to putting forward a positive, humane, dignified, affirmative, and bold vision for what our immigration system should and ought to look like. So you heard my name. I'm Bitta. I'm the Commissioner of the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs. I'm going to tell you a little bit of the work of the office. Really, to promote justice and integration, we design policies, implement programs, and advocate for change across all levels of government. We've worked with many of you in this room locally, with many of you nationally, and if we haven't, we hope to be able to work with you in the future. Because of some of the progress we've made, we know it's simply not possible without the work that we all do together, and bringing in new voices, bringing in new conversations, making new connections. Under the mayor's leadership, we've made some incredible strides here in our city: unprecedented local investments in immigration legal services. We've established IDNYC, the city's municipal ID program, with now over 1.3 million cardholders. We've strengthened our language access work across all our city agencies, and that's just to name a few examples. Of course, our work to make New York City the fairest big city in the country is nowhere close to being done. But in this time that often feels dark and tiring, and I'm sure many of you are often stressed and trying to figure out where you prioritize. Many of you have also helped us organize towards even greater change. At the federal level, we've seen the proposal of the American Dream and Promise Act, hoping to fight for and protect our dreamers, our temporary protected status holders, and our DED holders. We estimate over 100,000 of whom live right here in New York City, many who have been here for over a decade, on average at least 15 years, who are contributing hundreds of thousands of dollars to our economy, and who have families, who have children, who are right here. And if they were actually deported, we would see an incredible crisis of family separation, of children losing their parents, their primary breadwinners, and a moral crisis for our country. At the state level, we've seen the passage of the New York State DREAM Act, which is tremendous, offering financial support for young dreamers to be able to pursue their education and give back again and again and again to our city and to our country. Locally, we've expanded meaningful access to poll sites for immigrants by expanding interpretation services. Right here today, we have a special election in Brooklyn where we're expanding services at 3 polling locations for limited English proficient New Yorkers. And we've made it clear, once and for all, that healthcare is indeed a human right, regardless of immigration status. And we are working towards establishing our first NYC Care program, which will roll out beginning this summer, providing healthcare for all New Yorkers, irregardless of your immigration status or the language you speak, which is so fundamental to showing what a society that believes in human rights, that believes in the dignity and respect for all of its residents, does by living by example. These changes, again, are not possible without engaging with networks at community partners at the local, the state, and the national levels. We are so privileged to work with cities across this country through our network, Cities for Action, over 200 who share the vision in promoting and advancing pro-immigrant policies at all levels of government. We're just coming off of the heels of an incredible convening with over 30 plus cities in Atlanta, Georgia, where it was remarkable to see local mayors in Georgia come to the convening, many of whom were starting from almost a blank slate in the work that they're doing in their communities, but recognized that they have a growing immigration population, that many immigrants are moving out of Atlanta and into the surrounding cities, and that it's their responsibility to look at and understand how to best integrate and include those residents into the work of their municipalities. We had mayors walk away committed to fighting to get everyone counted in the census. We had mayors walking away committed to ensuring that language access was provided in small municipalities across Georgia and different states across our country, which is truly remarkable. But we still have a ways to go. And that includes right here in New York State. We are far behind the times on driver's licenses for all, behind 12 states, DC, and Puerto Rico. But national, state, and local advocates, along with allies in the state legislature, are moving forward, and we hope to get this done this session, which is not possible without everybody's voices collectively being raised and advocating. We have an obligation to our sisters and brothers in this movement, in our communities, in our families, together, as I said, to set a bold agenda to seize this moment. That's why forums and symposiums like this one are critical. Breaking down barriers to immigrant inclusion is possible, and it's necessary at all levels of our society and communities. We have to remain vigilant for opportunities for progressive change at the federal level, and at the same time, we must work tirelessly in our local communities on issues like healthcare, like language access and legal services, and so much more. Again, on behalf of Mayor de Blasio, we look forward to participating in today's forum and to taking these conversations into the work that we do together. Thank you so much for your work already.